Well, thanks Eva for joining us. My name is Kevin Anyango, the founder of Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. The platform talks about those characteristics that attract opportunities and even employment. But today, I'm not alone. Today, I am with Collins Mekubo. Collins, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, hi, how are you? How's everyone? Collins, as Kevin has said. I work with Standard Investment Bank and I'm the head of technology.
And when I spoke to you, Collins, I couldn't differentiate between the Standard Chartered Bank and the Standard Bank Limited. Are those same things or not?
No, they're actually two different institutions. A Standard Investment Bank is more of an an investment bank. We are in an investment space rather than Standard Chartered Bank, which is actually on a commercial. It's a commercial bank space, so we are not actively into the banking business and all that. So we're only in the investment space.
So those are two different institutions.
Totally two different institutions.
Excuse my ignorance, man. I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Just a minute. What's going on here?
Sorry for that.
Come on, don't misbehave. Really. Yeah, sometimes the live show, sometimes things happen you cannot control.
It's okay.
Something here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can actually hear you properly.
Sorry, live show things that I cannot avoid. It's gone off. Why is I cannot hear at all? Because if you can hear me, just give me a sec. For some reasons, I just kicked my microphone. This is ridiculous. Again. Better. Hi, can you hear me, Collins?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, I assume that those are same institution, but excuse my ignorance. now we do know. And Collins, I was just looking at your biography. I mean, you look very young. So what is the secret here then? I mean, there are lots of people that will be seeing you like, wow, he's the head of IT. So clearly there's something that is working for you. What is that?
I think to stay young, a couple of factors. Number one, you have to exercise, of course.
Of course, yes.
Eat well, you have to have a good diet. And then at the same time, you really have to move fast, to get to where I am. The environment is not really forgiving to those people who are actually slow. You have to catch up with the environment as well. Then the most important thing is, work hard, exercise, eat. Then you stay young. Probably I might look young, but I'm not really that young.
Well, I like what you mentioned, that the environment. So let's talk about environment. Now, there are lots of young people that will be listening to us right now. And as you said, the environment is very harsh. What do you mean by that? Before I say what I was trying to say.
I mean, just to dive straight into the realistic nature of this environment right now, COVID notwithstanding, you realize that we really have a lot of graduates outside here. So when you come to the third world country where, Kenya is classified under one of them, we have quite a number of challenges. And these challenges include the fact that we have so many graduates coming out of universities, coming into this particular environment, that is the working space. And then the most unfortunate thing is we do not have jobs for each and every one of these candidates. So what happens is we have a space that has so many people in it, and you have very few opportunities. Industrialization is not moving at the same pace as what we would expect, of course, so that we are able to match this particular aspect of job seeking issue. So now you realize that it becomes an issue of survival for the fittest.
Yes,
Because you have one job opportunity for quite a number, you know.
So just cut you short there. So you say that the more human resources is bigger compared to the job market. So how does one stand out then? How can we, I mean, as you say, it's survival for the fittest, but what will you say? What should people do to stand out?
Then I think now that's where we come in. I mean, where the conversation leads to eventually, because one of the most important aspects is how do you stand out? Because you have 1,000 people, then out of these 1,000 people, you only need one person for that one job opportunity. So the question is, how do you stand out? How do, among these 1,000 people, how does one come out, and so that you as an employer, or rather as a person who is recruiting, then how do you get to identify that this is the soul I need? Because you don't really have to be book smart. You don't really have to have the best of the hard skills that you need. You require to be in a job position, but then now it brings about how you better present your knowledge outside there. So then again, you talk about adaptability, you talk about how people are prepared to actually come out of universities, or rather out of institutions and tertiary institutions into the job market. So the preparation is really important in that someone has to be able to identify that he's changing an environment from being a position of being led to a position where someone is going to be expecting something from you. Someone is expecting to give you give you an objective, and then you will need to accomplish it. So that's the problem we have. And then
I like what you mentioned about the university. So how should people prepare then? As you know, when people are going at the moment, people in Africa, well, most people in Africa, the number of people going to university is quite high than ever before. Okay, yes. And people continue spending more money in academics. So just to take you back. So what's the preparation you're talking about here, apart from academics?
When I talk about preparation from the university, it's all about, or rather from the institutions, it's it's academic. It's purely academic. People are trained, they come out with clean A's, but then most of the practicality bit of it is not brought into aspect. The reason why you see the Kenyan government is trying as much as possible to bring in the tertiary colleges that will equip rather candidates with practical skills. It's because we've realized, rather the government itself has realized that as much as we have so many graduates outside there, we have so many of them who are half-baked. By half-baked, what do I mean? Someone comes into job industry, but they have no clue. That is not a problem. The problem is, as an individual personally, what are you doing about it? What are you trying to do so that you are able to fill that gap? Why? We do not have those particular resources that the first world countries have. So then it actually narrows down to an individual himself. So then the question I always ask candidates is, what have you done about it? Now that you have the academics, then what have you done about it to improve it so that you can come out and fit in this particular job environment?
And what should, again, I'll push you on this. So what is that, do you think we should be doing? And before you answer that, Collins, people that are just joining us, this is International University School of Soft Skills, and I'm talking to Collins Mekubo, who works for Standard Investment Bank. No, is that right?
Yeah, Standard Investment Bank.
Right? That's right. And Collins leads IT team there. So, right. So what's that? What's that thing? What exactly, Collins, will you recommend young people to do then, so that they can stand out? So we've got to academics, they're good, they've got good grades. Then what?
I think it's more of now the practicality nature of it, and this leads to the aspect where we usually advise candidates that they need to volunteer more, come out and do a lot of internships, go to other intermediary industries where you are able to get additional skills, do a certifications when it comes to especially our industry in technology. You need to do more certifications and then volunteer. So you volunteer, then you get to learn more. Unfortunately, as it is these days, it's very unfortunate that we recruit people, and one of an incident I had is I was trying to get to recruit internships, and I really, when I'm recruiting for an intern as an individual, I'm not looking at the academic, qualifications as much as they really set the pace. One of the things that we actually look at for such internships, because we agree this is a new a talent from the universities, and what do? You look at the ability to nurture and going to actually adapt to the new environment and the ability to learn. So if you have someone who is really open to learning, then it becomes easy for you to grow them to that particular direction you want. So one of the features that we actually look at, especially in the job industry, mostly is, are you able to have soft skills besides what we call the hard skills? So the hard skills in this case is what the academic is, what you get from the university, from your training institution. But now the soft skills are what you actually gain, or rather the training you get besides what you went to study. And one of the biggest challenges I've realized, even rather I've come across very good candidates who are actually very intelligent people who can actually fit well in a very interesting environment, or rather technical environment, is the ability for them to be able to communicate what they're actually doing. So communication has been, yes.
So please carry on, please carry on.
Yes, communication has been a problem because you, even at the interview level, you find a candidate you've shortlisted, you have a candidate with straight A's, you have a candidate with a very good degree, a first-class degree, and then so you expect them to actually be knowledgeable, but then when you sit and have a face-to-face conversation, that particular individual is not able to articulate that particular knowledge that is actually obtained. So he's not able to communicate. And then the excuse that we always find, especially when it comes to the technological space, is I think I can well explain that in technical terms. So the question is, why are you not able to communicate it in a layman's language? Because remember, the human resource who is actually doing the recruitment has no idea, or has no technical know-how on what you're about to present, but they still want to see whether you are able to communicate what you've presented on paper to them. So you realize,
and that is the challenge, isn't it?
Yes,
I'm talking about communication and so volunteering, and just to be very clear. So, for example, in your field, you're an engineer. Well, you're a technical person. So when you're talking internship, do I need to be in that same field, or it doesn't matter really?
When it comes to internship, it's more of you trying to obtain the soft skills that you require to fit in an industry. You don't really have to be in that particular industry where you've mastered it. So for me, I always encourage candidates, if you really want to develop the skills, you volunteer. You go out there, doesn't matter what industry, because it's from that particular volunteering, or rather from those particular internships, that you're able to learn on how to, for example, communicate to your teams. Because remember, communication is very important, especially when it comes to teamwork. Yeah. So without having good communication skills, you're not able to pass across your point. So you are in a discussion and you can't pass across your point, then it beats logic. Why are you in that particular team? So if you look at it in a more critical way, is as much as you have those particular hard skills, the best way that you can be able to fit in an industry, or that particular industry that you have passion in, is you must be able to articulate, or rather be able to pass that particular skill and show it to the to the organization, or rather to your team, that indeed this is what I'm trying to say. Because, for example, I'll give you a good example. At my position, where I have to report certain issues to the board, the board has no technological know-how. Yes. But one thing that they will always do is they will always want to understand, Collins, you want to implement this particular solution to the company. What financial gain does the company has? So it's my job to be able to articulate that, as much as I'm adding this technology, this is the cost of this particular technology. But then, as you go forward, how is it benefiting the board members and the shareholders eventually? Because then they want to look at the figures. So,
yes, I like that. Please carry on, please, carry on.
So I really have to be able to marry the two. I have to be able to understand the technology aspect of it and then bring it up on the financial aspect. So in this case, I have to be able to communicate the financial aspect to the board. That is a budget. So if I cannot be able to communicate what my budget stands for to the board, then they don't understand why I have this solution in place. So then they can easily shoot down that solution. So what happens is you eventually you become just a support department in an organization rather than a key business driver, which is should be the case.
I like that, Collins. And we talk about compared to the boss. Most people, you should assume that the boss knows it all.
Yes.
So you don't actually break down those kind of. For example, my that's different from yours. People use jargons, for instance.
Yes.
They want to sound smart, but actually, what they don't know is the boss has got no clue. What exactly? What are those technical terms? And I like that actually. And I think people should act to learn. How to just be simple. And
Yes.
when you're communicating stuff, assume that you explain to a 5-year-old kid what exactly you're trying to do. Colin, let's go back to volunteer part. And in relation to Kenya, Kenya to context, even getting that opportunity is a hassle, Collins, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, the opportunities are limited. To be honest with you, the opportunities within these particular spaces they are limited. I don't know about other countries, but then at least if I can bring this across, the government has done a lot more in trying to, especially try to reduce that particular space so that we have more candidates into the industry. Because as we speak, there are programs that the government has put in place where we have candidates being recruited to internships, and they have 80% interning to the government institutions, and then they allow them, they give them actually 20% of their internship opportunity to actually go into the private industry and try and fit in those particular industry. So I can, looking at it, a program that started about 2-3 years ago, and you look at the candidates that are actually coming out of those particular industries. When you interact with them, there's quite a lot of, a big difference. They've learned a lot. You can see there's a big gap, between someone who's gone for that particular internship and that person who has not gone for an internship, but is still constantly applying for jobs. So by the fact that they were able to come out of school and be able to go for this program, some of the skills they learn from that industry, or the interaction they interact with the people around those particular industries, they immerse, they actually end up having a lot of knowledge. Something that you want if you're recruiting someone who is a starter, for example, who's going to be a starting position as an assistant or as an analyst. So at that point, you are able to find a candidate that actually can be easy to teach or rather direct. Because the problem is when you have a new person, you have to first of all kill that mentality of the fact that I'm not going to be doing everything for you. I now expect you to actually deliver particular resources,
And I'm glad that comes from a horse's mouth. You recruit, you lead a team.
Yes.
So yeah, for myself, I started my career through volunteering, actually working for free. And
Yes.
and normally nowadays you find, with my experience, even where I am right now, you find when people come in as volunteer interns, whatever you want to call them, they want to prove themselves, and they don't necessarily. How do you use patient? But that's the wrong word here. People when they join the organization as an
Yes.
internal volunteer, but they kind of put the chest up. I'm a fresh graduate. I know what's the latest now. You cannot tell me anything. So they try to cut down that middle management, and they want to go up as soon as they can. What's your reaction to that, Collins?
That's probably what really happens in the industry. Even when I started earlier stage, when I actually thought I knew it all. But then I think now again it goes back to your supervisor, because I've had such candidates as well, training them. But one of the key things that usually, or rather one of the things that actually lay in place is this. During that particular process you're recruiting, you must be able to understand that the person you must be able to get this particular aspect from that particular individual you're recruiting into the environment. Number one, is this person able to learn? Is he open to learning? Because are they open to criticism? Because one of the things we have is when you come out of an institution, rather from an academic institution, you tend to think that it's basically black or white. It's going to be 1 or 0. It's straightforward. It's never straightforward. Even today, as we speak, I have people I look up to, when it comes to decision making. I realize that there are things that you can't really do according to book. That people have had experience that when you do it this way, it doesn't work. So the only best way is to adapt. So number one of the key things that a candidate needs to do is to be able to understand that mistakes are part of learning, number one. So they need to understand that making a mistake is part of the learning process. And to also employers, they should understand that that's also a process. So you should not be able to, you should not go ahead and start scolding a candidate, oh, you have done this wrong, you have done this. But the problem is usually when it comes to when the candidate repeats the same mistake, So what you do is, most of the time is you allow them the opportunity to experiment at the same time, but then give them limits. Give them limits, instruct them, tell them that this is where you can't cross, this is the line you can't cross, and this is what you need to do. So when you give people, or rather, especially during internship and volunteering exercises, these people have, when they have the ability to experiment and the ability to go outside there and find out more about a solution or a problem, then they get to grow. So you have people who understand that this is the wrong way of doing it, this is the right way of doing it. Unfortunately, as we speak today, you and I, Kevin, we know that experience eventually becomes the best teacher.
Yes. Of course. And talking about experience, you talked about people should be happy to accept that you can do mistakes, and it's okay to not do something properly. I mean, as you experience. But at the same time, Collins, now, this comes back to likability aspect, isn't it? Because if I like you and you've done a mistake, that's not a big deal. Because I like who you are as a person, I like what you are doing. And because you've done a mistake, we can correct this. So what I've just presented to you is, can you teach someone to be likable?
Now that comes about the issue of personalities. We have different leaders. In fact, if we come to think about it, if someone on the same level as I brought into the environment I'm working with and the team I'm working with, they would definitely be handling that team differently. So, from a leader perspective, it's totally a different point of view, because what happens is, from my point of view, I would have to be able to learn the kinds of personalities of these people. I need to understand that I need to deal with so and so differently from the way I'm dealing with another person. Because one thing that I've come to learn as you go, initially when I came into this industry, I was the 100% person. I demand 100%. If you can't give me 100%, then I think you do not deserve that particular opportunity. I can always replace you. As I said, we have unlimited resources, and that includes candidates, people who are willing to work. But then one of the things that you come to really appreciate is the fact that 75% is good enough. So if you're actually working with someone and they are able to give you 75%, and that is your bottom line, then you also have to make it clear, I cannot accept less than this. But now, when it comes to an individual perspective, where you have an employee, you think they're not likable, in a work environment, one of the things that people need to understand is you're here for one particular objective, the mission and objective of that company. So any other relationship outside, perhaps, is just an interference. So you don't really have to like that person to work with them. Teamwork does not require you to be able to smile, fake a smile. You don't need to fake a smile to someone and tell them, I like you, for you to be able to work with them. But one thing that is important is, you as an employee, or rather you as the supervisor of that particular employee, or rather as the leader, are you able to communicate that particular objective, that indeed this is the objective you're working towards? Because eventually, as you foster that relationship, then you really don't have to like that person. You realize that you eventually have a working relationship.
Because it doesn't become not controversial, really. So, yeah. Are you saying we don't have to be friends, as long as we know what's the objective of that company? The rest is useless.
You totally don't have to be friends, because once you are working towards a particular goal, you develop a team aspect. A team aspect meaning, I cannot work without this person. I cannot obtain this objective without this person. As much as I don't like you personally, I know that this person has this to offer.
So there's a back stop with the leaders and with the managers, for example.
Yeah, because I'll tell you the one thing I'll tell you for free, because if you are liking people, if you are working with that aspect of that I like you, because I know you sit in board meetings, you sit rather in interview boards, and then you see a candidate, you like them the first time you see them. But the moment they open their mouth and try to present what they're presenting to you, then you realize, wow, okay, I think as much as I like the person, this is not it, Then there's this candidate who is gloomy, who is not able to articulate. I mean, who is not who doesn't look so really, attractive to you. But then eventually you realize that indeed this person has the content that we need. So what happens is you develop a working relationship. The key word is a working relationship, meaning that we have a way of mingling together. We have a way of interacting together, but it's through the objectives of what we have. And that
so
is,
as a candidate, when you're joining a particular company, it is your role, well, to understand first of all this, you're going to work environment, not necessarily to be liked by people.
Exactly.
And the second thing, you talk about the manager. So it's the work of the manager really to try and understand his or her team and how they can work together.
I agree. Yes.
Now, on last week's show, I had a guest here who was saying that at the moment, most of middle managers, well, people like you, people actually have the keys. They don't know how to produce opportunities. So they are there because they are yes people, not necessarily because they can actually help the company to grow in terms of create opportunity for other people. What do you say about that, Collins?
I can only say that that's probably his opinion, because he definitely had it from somewhere. But from my point of view is at the point, or rather me being in that particular space, I have, as I mentioned earlier, remember I mentioned earlier that one of the key business drivers we have currently is technology. And me being able to lead that particular department, I know I play a key role in trying to build this particular institution to where it needs to be. That's according to the strategy we have in place. But one of the key things, I think, that as much as your speaker was saying that we are more than just there rather than people who will help other people grow, or rather help the company grow, I think one of the missing aspect you realize is most of the time is we have that issue where it's probably maybe your first time being in that particular position where you're leading a team, and when you lead a team, you have different stages of team development. So most of the time you realize that particular stages of team development, the initial stages, you have a lot of resistance from even your own team members. They don't accept that authority. Some of them will want to challenge that particular authority deliberately to see how you react. So it's up to that particular leader or that particular middle manager to be able to understand that I'm this particular stage of team development, and I need to get this team from being just a normal team to a working team, to a team that actually delivers solutions. So it's all upon, again, the manager to actually take up the mantle and ensure that all these people are aligned, because otherwise you'll end up being in that position where I will now have to agree with your speaker that they are just there because they want to survive. They just want to, and once you have a leader who is in that particular position, then they don't want to see anyone growing above them. And growth is one of the things that we really want to look at,
I like that. Again, for those that have just joined us, this is Tandao Varsity School of Soft Skills, and I'm talking to Collins Mekubo. Because you mentioned about, technology.
Yes.
What is the role of internet right now for people that actually see opportunities? And you, as an IT person, an expert, obviously, you will understand more than us. What's the role of internet when it comes to creating opportunities, or even when it comes to reaching people like you?
I mean, when you mention the word internet, I get a little bit jittery. The reason is because currently, literally every process, whether it's in the financial industry, manufacturing industry, it's purely internet driven. So if you look at it, the role of industry, the role of internet in all this is massive. It's something that we cannot really exhaust speaking about today, because communication is driven by the internet. You look at it, even employment currently, self-employment, people who do not have jobs, they actually can utilize the internet to do certain things, because I understand that people do online writing, people do online jobs, they're part-time jobs that are actually done online, you know. So, and the only way you're able to do that is you can only achieve that through the internet. So, Kevin, on that particular topic, I mean, it's something that we may not be able to exhaust today. I mean, it's so huge. There are so many opportunities again at the same time. Come to think about the pandemic, what it did, it actually opened a lot of doors for people, because if you come to think about it, people had to travel to go and have meetings. People had to travel to go for appointments. And we realized we didn't need that. People had space. I mean, people had offices, but currently I believe you're working from home. I mean, you know, so it also opened opportunities for people who are, for example, people like who are actually doing mentorship. Some of them do training online, you know. I'll give an example, the program that you're currently running. I know most people access it and they will get to learn more about what you're discussing about. That is purely internet driven. So I'll tell you, our fear only should be, what is the limitation of the internet, you know?
Yes. And that's interesting. So people that are saying hakuna kazi, like, you know, you hear people spending years, and we've got to be realistic here that it's very difficult to find opportunities, isn't it? But when someone tells you, you know, I've spent 4 or 5 years looking for work, what do you tell them then?
I think they're not doing the right thing.
Well, is it because lack of knowledge, or what exactly do you mean?
I'll tell you the truth. One of the things is, when you are doing something repeatedly, and then you're not able to get the results that you actually think you, or rather expect to have, you should ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why am I doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? Because that never happens, you know. Probably, especially on the job industry. I mean, I can't speak for everyone. There are people who are lucky, there are people who are unlucky, you know. And it happens that you have even the best minds outside there who've not been able to find jobs. Because I remember at a given time, I came across one of my schoolmates who was begging, a very brilliant student, you know. You couldn't understand what went wrong, and the candidate had so good grades, you know. So I think it's all about the opportunities you're willing to take, because some of these people are probably either choosy. They don't want to do internships, they don't want to go through certain stages in life, because remember, for you to get to where you want to, you have to take a step at a time. Because otherwise, if you could just jump up there, you'll come down crumbling, you know. So most of the time, my advice for people who are actually seeking jobs for a very long time, it's high time you need to stop looking for a job, and maybe you and rethink about your passions. You might look at it and then you realize you are better placed being an entrepreneur than being a professional somewhere.
Can you teach passion?
Unfortunately, it's something you need to discover yourself, because passion is what you like, you know, what you can do freely, what you can do without being pushed.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. Something you can do freely. And I've got to mention this, that we've never met, and it's all about internet. So this is actually an example of the power of the internet, really. So I'm very aware of time, and I do know that you're a very busy man. Now, when you're talking about personality, they come out of critical thinking. And I want to talk about this in relation to the internet. You find that lots of people use the internet to bully people, actually to kind of to guide people, really, because, you know, you find personalities clashing online.
Yes.
What sort of critical thinking, and should I care what people think about me online?
I think for me, I've grown to shut that out. I mean, whatever your neighbor speaks about you should not really define you. One of my friends told me one time that if I believe I'm smart.
So we've lost Colin there.
You are who you think you are.
So Colin, I think I lost you.
Sorry. let me take you back. I was saying, one of my friends was telling me that whenever you believe that you are somebody, then he believes that you are that particular person. Because the thing is, you become who you think you are, or rather who you believe you are. But the moment you start believing that you are what the other party is saying, then you'll become that. So eventually what happens with cyberbullying is, for me, I would encourage that stop crying all about it. Someone is saying something, someone is just behind a keyboard, someone is just behind the keyboard. You don't know what their history is. You don't know whether they're trying to lament, they're trying to bring out their hatred, a hatred that they have within them to you. So the thing is, as we always say, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, and whatever you believe in yourself is what that actually you become. So if you believe that that person is actually saying the truth, you are a fool, then you become a fool. And that will bring you down, essentially. So when it comes to cyberbullying, don't take anything seriously that is negative. Don't take any negative serious, because if you need to also improve on yourself, you can also look at it in your way and see, okay, this guy is really saying the truth. You know yourself, you understand yourself properly. What do I need to do about it? Because some of these people, you ask them, they'll say they'll bully you, and then you ask them, okay, what do you think I should do? They will say nothing about it. So that's what I'm telling you. Right now, if someone dropped me a text message on my social media platform and said, hey, you are not successful, I'll say, okay, depends on how you say it, and why
and Collins, I'd love to ask this. Look, I don't know how old you are, but people keep talking about, in young people not in leadership position. All the persons you see are gray hair, but I'm talking to a very brilliant young person here. Age relevant. Why can't we see people like you more often on our mainstream media?
I think now that again goes back to the objectives of the media, because sometimes when you focus on something, they also have limited space. You realize that, for example, the mainstream media has really limited space, and they're there for business. They're there for business opportunities. So some of these things are not able to come out by the fact that there's that lack of opportunity to do that. So, for such platforms as yours, what you're doing right now is one of the things that we actually need to look at more, because, it's more of education rather than entertainment, But if you look at the industry and these people who are actually on the mainstream media, they're there for money. And one thing that actually offers a lot of income is entertainment. Everyone wants to be entertained. You realize.
Yeah.
And then, so you realize that now when it comes to information or other educative materials, then you don't get that opportunity. You have to go an extra mile to push it out. Same way,
sorry, carry on.
Same way, I'll just go back to college. If one time I was a student, you were a student in a college, it's hard to take education. It's bitter. When you're taking something that is, what do you call it, that can add value to you. But when it comes to entertainment, it will be the first thing that comes at the top of your list. So as I said, the reason why we're not able to see all these outside there on the mainstream is, you cannot advertise on such a conversation.
Because I'm losing again.
They end up trying to figure out what we do. Yes.
I've lost you.
I can hear you.
I've lost you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I missed what you said earlier. So you are talking about personal objective, really.
Sorry, come back again.
If you can hear me.
Hello, Kevin, come back.
I can. I can hear you now. Sorry. So so you are talking about individuals and what they should do necessarily. As a person,
I think I think if you want something to go outside there, it's a personal. It should be a personal choice. It should be a personal effort. Push it outside there. You'll have it. But if you also think, or rather you believe that you cannot be able to do that, then it won't happen.
Remember, I would say,
yes, I'm saying, remember, every individual success is rather defined or driven by the individual. And one of the key things that I need to bring out today is your success is just defined by yourself. No one, not your father, not your mentor, will actually push you to get to where you want.
Well, so you define your own. So you interpret success according to your own, according to the individuals, really.
Exactly.
And the last thing for me, Collins, the aspect of mentorship. Is mentorship really overrated? Does it actually work?
It does, because I mean, I have a mentor. I have to honestly, speak about it. It's it actually does work, because sometimes when you're immersed deep into your thoughts and you're trying to achieve something, you end up losing path, and then when you lose your path, you're not able to achieve. But always, your mentor will always ensure that you are actually on course, that this is what you need to achieve and you need to get this. It's more of a mentor is more of a teacher. He's going to be telling you, you need to get there. And the only way you can get there is you need to follow this particular path. So in fact, I can tell you that it's one of the things that you shouldn't really take for granted. And you really need to, at least in your lifetime, have one, whether it's going to be professional growth, whether it's personal life, whether it's academic. You just need one mentor, because that's the only way you're able to achieve your goal faster than expected.
Tell me about your mentor. So do you meet very often? Is it someone that you know personally, or how exactly do you relate to this particular mentor?
The most interesting thing about how I came to meet my mentor was one of this leadership training. And we just happened to click. Like, I realized the person, I had a lot of struggle trying to define my own career path. And at that point, I was able to connect with this particular individual. And what happened is we became to know each other personally. And then, so we went deeper into my career path. And one of the things is that this is what I came up with when you gave us an assignment. And I think from what I've seen, I can be able to achieve it, but I just need a fine tuning. And we agreed upon it. And now I have a timeline in my life. As we speak today, I know what I want by 2023. I know what I want by I know what I will become by 2025. So it becomes easier for you to actually achieve what you want when you have a clear timeline.
Yes.
And when you have clear timelines, then it means you have clear, achievable goals that you actually have to look at. And these achievable goals.
But if I don't have an opportunity, Collins, so again, we're talking to those fresh graduates who are struggling with work, to find employment. So how do we tell them that you should know what you want in the next 3-4 years, yet they've not even started?
Trust me, Kevin, everyone has equal opportunity. That's one thing I have to tell you. Everyone has equal opportunity. And as I said, what differentiates you from the rest of the crowd is how you approach that particular opportunity. Are you the kind of a person who will grasp that opportunity, who will go for the opportunity, or you're the kind of a person who will sit back and wait for it to come? Let me give you an example. You are fresh from the company, from campus. When you're outside, you're looking for the same.
So, I've lost you again, Collins.
Course, got the same grades.
So, I've lost you again.
Can you hear me right now? Can you hear me?
So, Collins, we are losing you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I can. Please repeat again what you're saying. So, give an example.
Sorry, as I was saying, you have two candidates. These candidates, or three candidates, who came from the same institution with the same grades, taught by the same lecturers, had the same grades, and they all come into the industry. The one thing that will actually differentiate them is how one is very aggressive, or how one is aggressive to the industry. How is he approaching? They might apply the same jobs, but you realize that they apply for the same job. They all get called to the same interview, but how one of the candidate differentiates himself from during his interview will determine whether that person gets that particular opportunity or not. Or rather, again, as much as you would say you only need one candidate, you lost one, it will also depend on how aggressive you are to approach this particular industry. Because what happens is you have so many people outside here, they are all calling people they know that, hey, I know you are head of IT in Standard Investment Bank. Could you connect me to someone who can give me a job? I mean, we have no jobs ready for people. You know, we have a process that we have to run for. Hmm? I can't hear you. Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Yes, you're
I'm
saying
seeing a very
something.
bad signal. Collins, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, this is not good. Collins, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can. Sorry, please. Your experience are very important. So, so someone calling you. Carry on, please.
Yes, I mean, some people are calling you and they're trying to explain or rather ask you for jobs. They are like, Collins, you head of IT, you must know I'm head of IT somewhere in another company. Of course I do. However, the question is, I can't just call them and tell them, hey, so and so called me and they want a job, you know. Then the question is, Collins, you know, you are the one who recommended this guy is not performing, you know. So eventually what happens is we cannot be able to give you the opportunity you need as much as we can show you the path. Right now, what we're trying to do is tell them, this is the guide to you getting a good job. This is a guide to you getting an opportunity that you think you deserve. Go outside there, be able to communicate your requirements, be able to say, I've done this and this, and also be able to accept to say that this is my weakness and I'm working on it. Because, I mean, the easy for you to even present your needs, you know. But now at that particular point, Kevin, hello, can you hear me, Kevin?
Collins, are you there?
Yes, I'm.
You keep on cracking. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm really sorry. Again, this is happening on live shows. I cannot control them. Collins, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Marvelous. Well, again, for those that have just joined us, this is the University School of Soft Skills, and I'm talking to Collins Mekubo, who works for Standard Investment Bank Limited, and we're just finishing up. Sorry, Collins, I had missed. You're cracking a bit. So when someone calls you and say, "Hey, come on, connect with Mr. X to give me work," how do you respond to that?
Most of the time, the question is, have you tried to approach them directly yourself?
But how to jump the queue?
That's the question I usually ask. Yes, I mean, exactly. Have you tried to approach them? Because, you know, sometimes a one-to-one conversation would show that you have the confidence to actually go for that particular opportunity. But when I actually call someone, doing you a favor on your behalf and telling them that so and so needs an opportunity, then the first question that comes to their mind is, if they do not have the confidence to actually walk into their office and say, hey, I need an attachment or I need an internship opportunity, then how good are they? How sure am I that these people will come in and they'll be able to communicate my objectives, you know, or are they be able to execute the roles assigned to them? So usually, for me, I always say, I have tried it. I can tell you for sure. Early stage, when I was getting into this industry, I tried it and said, hey, let me try and get in touch with one of my brother-in-laws. Hey, can I get a job opportunity in this ministry? And he's like, you have no certificates. But anyway, then I came to realize, in fact, that there's no way you're gonna be able to get any opportunity through someone else, unless in fact they really have, they're actually the key decision maker in that particular institution. And in that particular case, even the workforce you'll be working with, because they know you didn't come in through the right channel, you will have a big disconnect with this team. Get the point?
Oh, but who cares?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
he wants to give me work. Nobody. I don't care how I got there.
That's fine for you as an individual. It's okay. But what happens is you get to have issues eventually on, because some of them, people get to know that, okay, this person was actually good, you know. Then the issue is now that team work. Remember, an organization rather than an institution has to work through certain mechanisms, and these mechanisms are departments. So if you are in a department where you are not in agreement with some of the people in that department, then you lose out. So the thing is, again, you don't get to grow as much as you wanted, or as much as you thought you would, because again, what happens within yourself, you have no that self-confidence that I actually got this job opportunity through my own efforts. So eventually, what happens is you don't have that confidence to approach your supervisor and tell them, hey, I need a raise, I need a promotion, and I've done these 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll be like, hey, you still need to hang on, But then once you're able to approach a recruiter, for example, boldly enough and tell them, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I think I can offer to this institution, I think you click, people are able to understand that this person has sufficient knowledge, or rather is capable of, because again, at that particular time, you are putting yourself on the spot in that if you're not able to deliver this, then you walk out,
Oh, Collins, that's very, very important, and you've put it very easy and simple to understand, because lots of people are also spending more time on the phone trying to find out who do they know where. How the recommendation works. So, for example, if I know that there's opportunity within your firm, different departments, but I know you're a senior manager there, don't you think recommendations sometimes help?
Yeah, they do. For example, in a scenario where there's an opportunity and you just approach and say, there's an opportunity here and I think this is what I can do. You have to convince me first. Because for me to be able to actually push you to another department, remember, I'm putting myself on the line here in this particular case. So the other manager, as much as they'll take it seriously, then they'll know if there's any disciplinary action, course of action that has to be taken in this candidate, then the first person to approach is Mr. Collins. So what I say is, it takes even the person who is recommending you to a certain institution, it takes him confidence that this person will actually deliver for them to even go ahead and do that. So instead of you complaining outside there that I've reached out to so-and-so and they can help me, think about it. Ask yourself, was I not able to convince them enough? Because you need to also convince them. Once you're able to convince them good enough that actually this person has the capability and you are there, hey, how did that job go? I mean, is it something this is what I can do? Tell them, don't just use them as a conduit. Then once they believe in you, then they are able to actually do that particular reference.
Oh, Collins, that's I mean, that's understandable, and I wish someone told me this early in my life, because as I said, people keep on spending time, and also they get bitter because so and so did not connect with so and so. But actually, it's an individual's effort, isn't it? That actually counts by the end of the day. Well, Collins, the last section of this show, what I normally do is I usually ask the current guest to introduce me to the next guest. Well, you know the nature of the show, what I'm trying to promote. So I'm asking you, will my next guest come from you? It doesn't matter who they work for, as long as I'm looking for people that make opportunity, that make decisions, because I think it's good to hear some of the things. For example, what you're sharing right now. I don't think if I was talking to, let's say, member of your team, they'll actually articulate things the way you have. So hence, I'm going for people with particular. Not just a title, but people who are somewhere within institutions. So, is that possible? Will you bring someone next year?
Yeah, probably. I'll do the best I can so that I can get you someone who will be able to speak to you and even talk to your audience and present whatever topic you're discussing about. I'll try my best. I can promise you that. So I don't want to speak for them because
indeed,
and then they'll have
and they don't have to come really. For example, I also did to you through Amos of PLO Foundation, and we had a chat and you liked. I think we liked each other. So yeah, they don't have to come. If you recommend them, they come fine. If they don't, we can try somewhere else. Listen, Collins, I cannot thank you enough. I mean, there's some of the things that you mentioned that personally I found very useful, particularly when you talk about recommendations. People spend a lot of time, making phone calls, trying to find out who do they know where, but they actually do not have the experience they're looking for. So thank you very much for that, Collins. And again, for those that have been with us at the Sintanda University School of Soft Skills, and I was talking to Collins Mekubo, works for Standard Investment Bank Limited. Collins, just last thing. So again, people that are at home and are saying akuna kazi, what do you tell them? What's the message? Take us home.
They need to do something differently. Just change their mindset. Number one. One of the things that I usually used to ask myself is, what if I will actually stay home and keep on applying jobs forever? Do I have to wait for that particular job opportunity to come? No, don't have to. So you need to step outside there and see different opportunities. You don't really have to be an employee. You don't really have to be a professional in a company. Maybe your star is differently designed. You probably could be a business owner somewhere, could be an entrepreneur somewhere. You could be an employer eventually, because so don't sit down there doing the same thing, expecting different results. Try.
Marvelous. Collins, thank you so much for your time. Really, really nice meeting you here. And I'm sure now we are part of a network, so we'll continue communicating even outside the internet. But for now, thank you very much for your time, and do have a nice evening.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for having me, and the entire audience as well, as we continue to actually do what I would say, as we continue to actually look into this particular aspect that affects our different lives.
Oh, marvelous. Thanks, Collins, and goodbye for now.
Yeah, thank you so much.